What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Madison if you are new here, and I have some pretty old Bibles that I read out of, and today we're gonna dive into Revelations. I'm just gonna say viewers discretion advised because this shook me. I'm not gonna lie. The practical observations or the notes listed under, it's a lot to process. Like before, I'm going to read scripture and then I'm going to read the practical observations underneath. I already did a small portion on TikTok of Revelation. We're going to keep going from that. So I did Revelation 9, 3 through 5 on TikTok and my Instagram. Now we're going to do 6 through 9. And the reason I'm only doing these small sections is because there's a lot packed into here, and I want to be careful with this, okay? Actually, we're gonna do 6 through 11. Revelation 9, 6 through 11. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew tongues is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. The notes on that. My entire life we looked at Revelations as something to come, something that has not yet passed. That's not what I'm reading. It was also foretold that these tremendous conquerors would cause such extreme calamities and miseries to the inhabitants of the countries which they ravaged, by giving the utmost license to the cruelty, rapacity, and lust of the soldiers, that death must appear to numbers more desirable than life. And they would have been more merciful if they had dispatched the wretched victims of their unbridled passions, than by constraining them to drag on an unwilling life, and so prolonging those miseries which they ardently wished for death to terminate. The shape of these figurative locusts was next described. They resembled horses, as locusts do, especially in their heads. Now the Arabians were remarkable for their skill and horsemanship, and their chief force lay in cavalry. The crowns on their head, like gold, may denote the turbans which the Arabians have always worn, or it may refer to the many kingdoms which they subjected to their dominion. They had beards on their faces like men, and they wore their hair like women, plaited or flowering down their backs, and the Arabians are known to have done this. The teeth as of lions, which are ascribed to them, represent their strength and fury to destroy, while their breastplates of iron showed their care to protect themselves by defensive armor. That is, by the most effectual public measures, the sound of their wings prefigured the fury with which they assaulted their enemies, and the rapidity of their conquest. But though they devoured and caused desolation like locusts, yet the principal mischief which they did was effected by their tails, in which they had stings like those of scorpions. For wherever they extended their conquest, they left behind them the poison of their abominable religion, so that the consequences of their victories were more mischievous than the slaughter made by them. The king over these locusts, who was the angel of the abyss, or a messenger from the abyss, may signify their caliphs in succession, who were the chief priests of their religion, the commanders of their armies, and their emperors. The name of the kings, even the destroyer, for so the word means in both languages, was peculiarly suitable to the succession of rulers, who murdered both the body and the soul of men by the same malignant expeditions, as they seemed to be Satan. The first murders vicegerents and visible representatives upon earth. Every circumstance of this emblematical prediction exactly accords to the Caesareans and so little suits the church and heresy or hierarchy of Rome and any other religious orders, who gained their advantage by priestcraft, not by arms, that there can be no propriety in attempting to explain it of them, especially as they are described with sufficient precision in what follows. Prophecies have a determinate meaning, and by giving loose to the living imagination to find distant resemblances, we are more likely to perplex than to satisfy the inquirer. Actually, let's read 12. One woe is past, and behold, there comes 2 woes more hereafter. And the notes on that. After the apostle had seen these things, he was informed that 1 woe has passed, 2 others were coming. This is added not only to distinguish the woes and to mark more strongly each period, but also to suggest that some time will elapse between this first woe of the Arabian locust and the next of the Euphratean horsemen. There's not much I can say about this. All along, we've been looking for the physical. A physical locust, scorpions, smoke abyss. I don't know what to say. I really don't. I am at a loss for words. If what he is saying in these notes is true, so many of the prophecies have already happened. This isn't to scare anybody. This is just to this is to put in place exactly where we're at. It goes on to say that the 4 angels that were bound in the great river Euphrates have already been released. I think I may have discovered something that I was not meant to discover. And the ones who changed the Bible, or they didn't even have to change it, they just had to simply take out these practical observations and the notes of those who put in the work to understand Scripture. They took that away to leave us confused and grasping at straws. I see now why they took all of this out and left only Scripture, which Scripture is the Word is Scripture, God is the Word. So yes, we need that. If the Lord gave understanding to these men who sought understanding, and if what I am reading is true, we really don't have any time left. Guys, I'm sorry I sound so morbid. I'm sorry I sound so down, but all I can do is I'm gonna keep reading it to you guys. I don't know how long this video is gonna be because I'm at a loss for words. Truly. I'm gonna have to leave that right there, guys, because there's a lot. I actually can't speak. Until next time, I'm sorry this one was so weird and odd, but it's like everything we've been taught is wrong. Not necessarily wrong. Everything we've been taught seems to be not even the surface. What we've been taught is the air touching the surface. No depth to it whatsoever. Wow. All right, y'all. I love y'all. I'll see y'all next time.